Hi guys, so I am going to read to you a chapter from the book that we've been reading, The Tiger Rising. If you're a virtual learner that wasn't in the classroom since the beginning of the year, you haven't heard from this story at all. We've been reading about a chapter a day, and if you've been virtual for a little bit, you have a little bit of catching up to do, but I'm going to try to summarize it for you before I read the next chapter. So basically, this book, here's the cover, The Tiger Rising. It's about a boy who's about maybe 12 years old. He's 11 or 12. He's starting middle school, and he moved from a different area, and his mother passed away, so she's not with him anymore, and he lives with his dad in a motel called the Kentucky Star. He also has this type of rash on his legs that people make fun of him for. It's like this rash that's, if you would get a type of rash on your skin, it's red and maybe it's itchy. And that's what he has on his legs. And he was sent home from school recently in the book because they think it's contagious, but it's not. So he puts cream on it every day, but it's not contagious, so nobody else can catch it. And this boy, whose name is Rob, he found this tiger in the woods, and this tiger is trapped in a cage, and it paces back and forth, and Rob loves to visit this tiger because, could you imagine going out your back door into the woods and seeing a tiger locked in a cage? Well, Rob doesn't tell anyone except for this girl who's riding the tiger. Her name is Sistine, like the Sistine Chapel, and she is a little different, just like Rob, so he kind of makes friends with her. He does tell her about the tiger, but he doesn't choose to tell anybody else, which is crazy because I feel like if I saw a tiger, I would definitely be telling almost everyone. So they're friends, and we just got to the part where Rob finds out who he thinks is in charge of this tiger. And I'm sorry if you haven't heard about it in a while or haven't read it yet. That's the best that I can do to kind of summarize it. And I guess as we go, I will kind of explain a few things if it doesn't make sense and if I can think about it while I'm reading. But basically, that's what you need to know so far if you haven't heard it yet. But it's a good book. It's one of my favorites. So they just left off where Beauchamp, who is the owner of the Kentucky Star, the motel, he tells Rob to get in his truck, and they begin to drive off because he says he has something in the woods that he wants to show him. And Rob is like, oh my goodness, I already know what it is. So that's where we left off. So we are on chapter 19. Beauchamp hit the brakes. We're almost there, he said. You gotta close your eyes, so it's a surprise. Oh, also, the older characters or the adults in this book, or there's some mean kids, I do in a different accent. So if you're like, why is Miss Laylan talking like that? It's because they live in the South, so the southern part of the United States, of North America. So their voice sounds different, so I just change it when those people are talking. Okay. Beauchamp hit the brakes. We're almost there, he said. You gotta close your eyes, so it's a surprise. Rob closed his eyes, and the Jeep went forward slowly. Don't cheat now, Beauchamp said. Keep 'em closed. Yes, sir, Rob said. All right, Beauchamp finally said. Go on and open 'em. He had pulled the Jeep up as close to the tiger cage as possible without driving right into it. Tell me what you see, he crowed. So he said, or he almost said in a voice that was, tell me what you see. Like, he's almost making Rob, or he's wanting Rob to, he wants a reaction out of him. Like, he almost wants to see Rob's face be super excited. But I don't think Rob is going to be too surprised, because we already know that Rob has seen this tiger quite a few times. Tell me what you see, he crowed. Tell me, what is before your very eyes? A tiger, said Rob. He felt his mouth drop open. He tried very hard to look surprised and amazed. That's right, said Beauchamp. King of the jungle, and he's all mine. Wow, said Rob. You own him? That's right, said Beauchamp. Fellow I know owed me some money. Paid me with a tiger. That's the way real men do business, in tigers. He come complete with the cage. The toothpick in the side of his mouth danced up and down. Beauchamp put a finger up to steady it into silence. What are you going to do with him? Rob asked. I'm studying my options. I figure I could send him up out in front of the Kentucky Star, have him draw me some more business into the motel. The tiger stood and stared at Beauchamp. Beauchamp looked away from him. He tapped his thick fingers on the steering wheel. I also might just kill him, Beauchamp said. Skin him. Make me a tiger coat. I ain't made up my mind yet. He's a lot of work, I'll tell you that. He needs meat twice a day. That's where you come in. I need you to come out here and feed him. $2 every time you do. How's that sound? And we already know that Rob is so curious about this tiger, but Sistine wants to set him free, and I think Rob does too. Beauchamp is not a very nice guy. Rob swallowed. How do I get the meat in the cage? He asked. Beauchamp dug into his pocket and pulled out a set of keys. With these, he said. He shook the keys, and they gave a sad jingle. Don't pay no attention to the big keys. They're for the locks on the door. Open them up, and that tiger will get out and eat you for sure. You understand me? I ought not to give you this whole set, but I know you won't open up that door, right? You ain't no fool, right? Rob, terrified that keys to the cage existed, and that they were about to be handed to him, nodded. See this tiny key? Beauchamp said. Rob nodded again. That's for the food door. Right there. Beauchamp pointed at a small door at the bottom of the cage. You just open that up, and toss the meat in a piece, one at a time, just like this. Beauchamp swung himself out of the Jeep with a grunt. He reached in the back seat for the grocery bag, took out a piece of meat, bent over and unlocked the tiny door, opened it, and threw the meat in. The tiger leaped forward, and Beauchamp took a quick step backward, stumbling. That's all there is to it, he said, straightening up. His forehead was shiny with sweat, and his hands were trembling. So trembling means that they were shaking. So he's probably a little nervous. I mean, I think anyone would be nervous to open up a tiger cage, like a wild tiger, and be feeding this tiger meat. I mean, anything could happen. So yeah, his hands were trembling. What's the tiger's name? Rob said. Name? Said Beauchamp. He ain't got no name. You got to name something before you toss a piece of meat to it. Rob shrugged and blushed. He bent over to scratch his legs, so he wouldn't have to look at Beauchamp's sweaty, angry face. You want to get introduced proper? Said Beauchamp in a mocking voice. Well then, get on out of the Jeep. Rob climbed down. Beauchamp grabbed hold of the fence and shook it. The tiger looked up from his meat. His muzzle was red with blood. So his muzzle was that part of an animal that sticks out a little bit more than our human faces. The muzzle is the nose and the mouth. So this whole area was covered in blood because he's eating that meat. He stared at Beauchamp with a fierce look in his eyes that was familiar to Rob. "Hey," Beauchamp shouted, "you see this boy here?" He pointed at Rob. "He's your meal ticket." "Not me. It's this boy. He got the keys now, you understand? I don't got 'em no more. This boy's got 'em. He's your boy." The tiger stared at Beauchamp a minute more, and then he slowly lowered his head and started back to work on the meat. Now you two know each other," said Beauchamp. He pulled a tattered bandana from his pocket and wiped the sweat off his forehead. On the hair-raising ride back to the Kentucky Star, Rob realized who the tiger's stare reminded him of. It was Sistine. He knew that when he told her he had the keys to the cage, her eyes would glow with the same fierce light. He knew that she would insist that they now would have to let the tiger go. And that's the end of the chapter. Which, those of you in class reading this with me know that Sistine is she's very spunky and sassy, and Rob, we kind of tease Rob in this story. He kind of likes her, likes her. And we think that he will do just about anything for Sistine to get her attention, and he cares about her, and she has him as a friend. So far the kids in class and I mean, everyone right now, we have all been thinking about Sistine letting out this tiger, and we've been waiting for it, and we're more than halfway done. We've got maybe a third left of this book, and it gets pretty crazy, but it's a good one, and we've enjoyed reading it so far, especially when we get to the end of the chapter, we just want to keep reading. So I'll keep reading it one time each day, and this is your chapter 19 for today. Yeah, I wish I could be reading it in person to you guys, because I love reading books to each and every one of you, but after you listen to this read aloud and listen to this video, you can comment back on this post on Seesaw, and you can tell me what you think is going to happen next. So it ended, I'll read it one more time. It ended with this. On the hair-raising ride back to the Kentucky Star, Rob realized who the tiger's stare reminded him of. It was Sistine. He knew that when he told her he had the keys to the cage, her eyes would glow with the same fierce light. He knew that she would insist that now they had to let the tiger go. So in your response back, you can let me know what you think is going to happen next. Think about it for a little bit, and then either type it back to me in a response, or you can video record yourself and I can watch you tell me what you think is going to happen next. Bye!